I am pleased tonight to present the fiscal year 2023 Superintendent's Budget Proposal. I want to thank our Chief Financial Officer, John Wallingford, and our Budget Director, Kathleen Addison, their staff, along with the partnership of our entire leadership team for their hard work in leading the reinvention of our budget development process this year. Mr. Wallingford will provide further details on our budget proposal in just a moment. But first, I would like to share some exciting key takeaways. We began our budget development process by aligning to the priorities and outcomes outlined in our Vision 2025 Launching Thriving Futures strategic plan. Additionally, I met with every department where we collaboratively reviewed the existing budgets and identified opportunities for work we could stop in order to better align investments to our priorities and identify new opportunities to advance our strategic commitments. This was time-consuming for our staff, but was crucial in our ability to assure no stone goes unturned as we maximize every dollar in our budget to support students, teachers, and staff. First and foremost, this is a budget that is teacher and student-centric, with the bulk of our new investments going to support the classroom and our schools where they are needed most. As you know, I have visited every school this fall and met with hundreds of parents, staff, and students where I heard firsthand the needs of our school division. As a school division, we do not control our revenues up or down. We are fortunate this year to have strong state and county budgets that are crucial to our ability to fund our schools both adequately and equitably. The FY 2023 budget is a $1.5 billion budget, which represents an approximate 14% increase over fiscal year 2022. The centerpiece of this budget and the single largest investment is $60 million to provide a 7% average increase in pay for our staff. This critical investment recognizes the need to offer competitive pay and benefits as outlined in our strategic plan. I will provide further details on this in a moment, but first, I will walk through each of our 4 strategic commitments and highlight the major investments that this budget makes in each area. First is the core of our business, which is learning and achievement for all. Our work on this commitment is to provide equitable opportunities for all students to achieve at high levels, preparing all students for post-secondary education and the workforce, and ensuring all staff members support and challenge every student. As we've heard from our instructional staff, beyond their own pay and benefits, they urgently need more support in the classroom. This budget specifically includes a focus on our early learners and support for our special education teachers and students. To this end, this proposal includes hiring 88 full-time kindergarten teaching assistants to ensure every kindergarten classroom has a full-time assistant. Further, I am proposing 100 full-time teaching assistants for special education classrooms that will be allocated to schools based on programming and staffing needs to support our most vulnerable students. To further support our special education and as identified as a key resource in our strategic plan, we are also proposing the hiring of 13 assistive technology specialists. These experts are critical to our ability to ensure every student has the support needed to have their voice in their own education. An additional resource to support our schools and students is the addition of social workers and behavior specialists, which are desperately needed to address social and emotional learning and mental health and wellness for both students and staff. A key goal in our strategic plan is for 100% of students to have a post-secondary plan, because we know that our job at PWCS does not end when we hand over the diploma on graduation day. To this end, we are proposing the addition of 15 career counselors, 1 for every traditional and non-traditional high school, who will play a key role in guiding students and families in the development of concrete post-secondary plans to secure their future after graduation. The theory of action behind our first strategic objective is that if all schools have high expectations and engage students through universal design for learning and rigorous problem project-based learning, then every student will have the knowledge, skills, critical thinking, and digital tools needed to fully access advanced opportunities leading to higher levels of academic achievement. To deliver on this theory of action, we are proposing investments for academic support, including 13 instructional support positions to provide teachers with professional development and school-based coaching in the areas of math, science, social science, and literacy, as well as support for English learners and world language. These positions will help us develop and advance and deliver curriculum that are both inclusive and rigorous for every student. Earlier this school year, we shared with the school board a presentation on the state of gifted education in PWCS. Based on that data and recommendations from the Superintendent's Advisory Council on Gifted Education, we are funding 21 gifted program positions to advance our goal of every school having a full-time gifted program teacher by 2025. These positions will increase student access to gifted education programming. This budget will also make critical investments in our classroom technology infrastructure. As we are now a one-to-one school division, we must ensure we maintain this investment, as well as upgrade our classrooms where the technology has fallen behind. Many of our teachers are using interactive whiteboards or projectors that are more than 7 years old, and this leads to equipment failures that disrupt instruction. This budget centralizes management of these assets so we can ensure technology adequacy and equity in every school moving forward. Also, in support of adequacy, we have included funding for our small schools to ensure that they meet the basic needs of their schools when per-pupil funding may not be sufficient. Our next strategic commitment is positive climate and culture. This is our promise to provide a welcoming, supportive, and safe environment for teaching and learning. To support our schools, and again, tied to our strategic plan goals around positive climate and culture, we are proposing the hiring of 30 security specialists along with infrastructure upgrades of cameras and emergency systems. We also have included the hiring of an additional 14 nurses. As we know, the pandemic has placed a heavy burden on our school staff, and none more than our nurses, who have delivered exceptional service to our students and families throughout this challenging pandemic. This hiring will further bolster this critical role in an effort to reduce high student-to-nurse ratios. As we seek to ensure our schools are inclusive and safe for all students, we will continue supporting the No Place for Hate program, as well as adding support positions in handling student discipline cases. Lastly, creating sustainable facilities and reducing energy consumption continue to be a division focus, and this budget adds resources to support these initiatives. Our schools exist to serve students and families in partnership. Family and community engagement represents the commitment to build collaborative, meaningful partnerships and trusting relationships to foster the success of all students. We also believe involvement of the family in their child's education is crucial. This should be true for every family. However, as a large school division, navigating the multitude of resources can be daunting, especially for those families that may speak a language other than English. As such, we are proposing ramping up our family liaison program with the addition of 35 parent liaisons, with the long-term goal of having at least one parent liaison for every school in the next 4 years. We are also adding 5 additional social worker positions and additional language translations support. Our final commitment is organizational coherence. This represents the conscious commitment to align the entire school division as one team, united in a singular commitment to support all schools, students, and families. In supporting our teachers, administrators, and support employees, and aligned to our strategic priority to provide regionally competitive wages, the core of our budget proposal is an investment of $61 million to provide employees a 4.2% cost of living adjustment and a step increase. This will equate to a 7% average increase for most employees. Overall, the cost of this investment is offset by a vacancy savings of $20 million. We will also be investing an additional $20 million to make market-based improvements to our certified and instructional pay scales and our classified pay scales. As a result of these adjustments, our salaries will be more competitive. These increases will be targeted primarily at early and mid-career steps on our scale, where we are seeing the least parity with other school divisions with whom we compete for talent. This means some instructional and certified staff will see increases above 7%. This proposal will also keep healthcare premiums low despite increasing claims and healthcare costs. The proposal includes a modest 2% increase to employee premiums in our division's self-insurance plan administered by Anthem. This equates to about an additional $10 per month for the Family Anthem HMO plan. However, Kaiser has established a rate that will result in a 14% increase, or about $73 additional per month for the Kaiser HMO plan. It is important to note that Kaiser's overall premium costs will still be lower than Anthem. Our principals are also being asked to do more than ever. They must be instructional leaders, mediators, and they must navigate the ongoing burden of the pandemic. Recognizing the enormous challenge of this role, we are adding 26 assistant principal positions to further support the work of our building leaders and lower the student to assistant principal ratio. The strategic plan addresses the need for organizational coherence. This means that we, as an organization, are all headed in the same direction and that every resource we have is dedicated to supporting the classroom. This includes support positions, which are crucial to the work of our schools, and let me explain why. As you've heard me say, with the new positions proposed today, in addition to our annual hiring needs, we have a substantial amount of hiring needed at the local school level. For every hire at the school, there comes the need to recruit, onboard, equip, and pay these new employees. We strive to keep that support as efficient as possible. However, when that support becomes too thin, then efficiency decreases. This means if we do not have the human resources, finance, transportation, or technology staff to support our schools, then we have negative impacts. This can result in delayed hiring, negative customer service for our families, leaders, or staff, and infrastructure breakdowns. For example, I have continuously heard throughout this year from our school leaders regarding the impact of our understaffed support offices. This includes the inability to be competitive in filling key positions and even losing top talent as a result of delays caused by substantial workloads. To meet the high demand of customer service we've outlined in Vision 2025 and ensure fiscal responsibility, it is necessary for us to adequately resource departments that are woefully understaffed today. This is especially true for our finance and human resource departments. In just a moment, I will ask Mr. Wallingford, along with other key members of the leadership team, to share further details of our proposal. But before I do, I want to bring us back to our strategic objective 4.3, that PWCS will ensure that our strategic priorities are driving our investments. And our theory of action that if we align our budgeted resources with our strategic priorities, then we will ensure that every student is provided equitable access to facilities, technology, and curriculum, enabling improved student outcomes and experiences. This budget is exceptionally strong. We have an opportunity to advance the necessary work of supporting our students by investing in our classrooms, our schools, and our staff. This is a budget that both the school board and the community can be proud of. Thank you for your support and consideration of our proposal, and I would like to now ask our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. John Wallingford, to provide additional details on the fiscal year 23 proposed budget.
Dr. McDade, thank you for that introduction. Dr. Lateef, members of the board, Dr. McDade, the first thing I'd like to say before we get into the numbers is that it's been both a pleasure and a challenge working with Dr. McDade over the past several months in putting this budget together. It is a change in process for us, and I have to say that I am excited to present this budget to you tonight. It is a very good outcome for the school division. So, you're familiar with some of these slides you'll see over the next couple of slides. These two donuts used to be pies, but what you see is a depiction of both where the money comes from and where the money goes to. And on the left, where it comes from, and you may be familiar with this, we see roughly 50% of our funding coming from the state and 50% coming from the county. Like Dr. McDade mentioned earlier, we have very little control over these numbers, but this year they have been just fantastic. Where does the money go to? Roughly 80% of our money goes towards instruction into the schools. Unlike many localities in Virginia, we do have a very healthy capital improvement plan. We spend a fair amount on our schools because we are growing, not as rapidly as we have in the past, but we do spend more than most school divisions on our CIP. To the next slide, what you'll see here is two items. The first on the left is our expected enrollment growth over the next several years. You can see the real deflection between 19, 20, and 21 to the left of this chart. And we're expecting growth in the range of 400 to 700 students per year going out from 2003 out into the future. The slide to the right is a bar chart you've seen, and what it really does is it depicts the enrollment growth in different populations in the division over the past 5 years. This slide is different than it's been in the past, and of note is the bottom bar where you see total enrollment growth over the past 5 years has been just a hair over 0%, so little in fact that the chart shows 0. Those other populations are growing at rates between 8 and almost 20%, and the important thing to note here is that those populations are more expensive populations for us to educate, and therefore, even though our total growth over the past years is flat, our costs continue to increase. The next slide, and this is what excites me a great deal, I have to share with you. Starting in 2009, and you've seen this slide before, starting in 2009, if you take a look at the bottom line, that is our per pupil expenditure adjusted for inflation. And you can see that even in the current fiscal year, our per pupil expenditure, again adjusted for inflation, is less than it was in 2009. This year, this coming year, fiscal 23, you'll notice that our per pupil expenditure, again adjusted for inflation, actually finally exceeds the number we had in fiscal 2009. Very good news. The top line are the same numbers unadjusted.
Mr. Wallingford, just specifically on that, just so
Yes, sir.
everyone understands, that 11,389 is higher than the 10,776. That's
Thank you.
basically what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. For the first time, we're back up over 2009 levels.
That's correct. Again, very good news. The top line are the same numbers, this time unadjusted for inflation. And the important thing to note here.
John, sorry, Mr. Wallingford.
Yes, sir.
Board members have questions on that again. Just go over what you mean again by the adjusted inflation rate. So if you look at the orange line, in 2009, we used to receive $10,776 per pupil, correct?
That is correct.
That was in 2009. When the recession hit, that continued to go down, and state revenues continued to go down, and we, for the first time this year, are going to be at 11,389, which is the first time we're higher than we were on adjusted inflation rates per pupil since 2009.
That is correct.
Okay.
So the top line shows our unadjusted or nominal per pupil expenditures. And what you can see, the thing of note here really is those last 2 years. What you see is an increase in per pupil expenditures of roughly $1,800 per student. That's a substantial increase year over year. And when we get to the last slide in this presentation, we'll walk through the revenue numbers, and you'll see what that $1,800 per pupil increase means. So here's the recap of revenue. And I'm just going to take you to the bottom right-hand corner. If you take a look at the bottom right-hand corner of this slide, what you see is $173 million increase year over year in revenue to Prince William County Schools, or roughly a 14% increase. This is a substantial number. It's greater than we've ever experienced. And so I'll walk through the individual categories. The most two important, again, are the county and state revenues. And you can see that county revenues, we expect those to be up about $50 million year over year. $50 million year over year is a typical total increase. This is just from county revenues, $50 million. The next number you see is about $120 million, and that's an increase in our state revenue streams, again, from fiscal 22 to fiscal 23. As you're aware, the General Assembly is meeting right now, and they're discussing all kinds of things that may change these numbers. They may reduce them, may increase them, in fact, and this is something that happens every year. The General Assembly typically is doing their work while we're proposing and working on our budgets. So in both of those categories, we expect to see changes between now and the time when you adopt our budget and send it to the County Board of Supervisors for adoption. This final slide just walks through the calendar that we have laid out before us for the next couple of months. I'm not going to walk through every single one of these. I'll point out the important dates. The last date is the date that the Board of County Supervisors approves our budget. That's on the 26th. Tax rates, while I haven't talked about tax rates tonight, tax rates theoretically will be set on April 12th, and that's when we'll have a good feel of what our county revenues are. And at that point, if we have to make any adjustments, if they're large enough, we'll bring those back to this board. Thank you.